Cursed Necropolis Rio session 24. Can you believe it? Right. So, we're going to jump right into it and sort of like Sans recap as well. So, it was determined that you would be going to the Mediterranean, specifically to the Greek island of Crete, to look for the Lion's Jaw, which is one of the Uter relics of Khufu's guild, the Su Menet, Shepherds of the Chamber. And we are going to start in an airplane, because that is what you have been chartered by. Well, you've got tickets from your cult. Your cult got you tickets for the flight to. You will have changed before you get to Crete, but your first flight is going to be to France, I think, and you're going to switch out in Paris and then fly to Crete. And yeah, on the plane, is there anything you wish to discuss? Now, of course, we have to take into context that planes, quite remarkable indeed, as far as technology goes, and it's the kind of thing that you also recall as you're in the plane that Cosmos was talking about in Brasilia when you were talking with him, that he's sort of saying like that mankind has really gone forward in leaps and bounds, and they're doing things that we couldn't even dream of back in Irem, like making metal fly across oceans, and it's not even a big deal. So you recall his words as you're sitting in the business class, with your peanuts and your complimentary drink, which you can have any kind of drink you want.
I'll have probably made some comment while we're travelling that it seems what Kazmot was said is true. How can we look at these amazing achievements that mortals have achieved, given that they lack the advantages we possess, and yet somehow still believe that they are lesser than us? They have done far more with far less.
I think the notion of them being less it's not fair. They're just different. We were like them. Now we are different.
But please forgive me if I misspoke, brother. I certainly do not believe that you believe that mortals are lesser than us. However, I do believe there is something in our kind. If you look at the way we deal with mortals or we regard them, my impression has been that many of our kind regard them as children, if you will, and we are the adults, and yet, from what I remember, is it not the responsibility of the adults to teach and to shepherd these children? Whereas I know we have had this conversation before, but most of our kind hide themselves away from mortals, denying the gifts that we have to the world, which, whilst I will admit that obviously we do have other priorities because we must follow the wills of the judges and our main purpose, why are the two mutually exclusive? Is there any reason we cannot fulfill our main purpose and yet still offer humanity the benefits of the gifts that we possess and the knowledge that we possess?
Well, and I say this while sipping a fantabulous Coke Zero with a dash of rum. Somehow they just knew that's what I wanted. Fate decrees. And I guess I'm staring at your wooden mask face and your robes and your staff and everything. Yeah. Stinking up the plane. Well, and to regards to your first point, I think that it's obviously I didn't take it personally, but I see humanity and the Arisen almost like two different courts, similar to the Orishas and the Secret Court. We share similarities, but we have different goals, different agendas, and that's the same with humanity. They don't have the same concerns as us. Their challenges are different. Our concerns are different. Our problems are different to theirs. There's an intersection. Obviously, we overlap somewhat because we share the same living space, the planet. Unless we've been to the moon, and our Curse Master will no doubt inform us one day if that is the case. But I think we view it in a different way. I see as interfering with them too much as almost a poisoning of their potential. They achieve what they do because they don't know of us that much. Because if they did, they would seek to emulate us, or at least seek to gain our power. And this is the problem: is they have not paid the price we have for it. We have paid a hefty price for what we have.
Indeed, but
if we share it with them, they have not paid that price, and the consequence, I think, would be bad for both of us.
Indeed, but
I say
they have
sipping and.
I can see
you
your point,
you look
brother.
like dressed like a mad priest, and I'm probably impeccably dressed in my devilishly handsomely angled face for an undead cadaver.
Well, you know, my thread's all woven by fate, so I look like an amazing priest.
Do you though?
Yeah. But I do see your point, brother. But they have not been offered the opportunity nor the price that we have been
That
given.
we can recall, at least.
Well, given that there do not seem to be any Arisen that have cropped up in more recent years, it would seem to be that no further of our kind have been created.
We shared what we had in Sada.
Indeed, but that was an unfortunate series of events.
We can't be the only Arisen that's done such.
And you say that they would try and emulate us if they knew of us. But do they not try and emulate us anyway? Are not many of humanity's accomplishments spurred on by their attempts to overcome their mortal limitations?
But
Perhaps if they were... Please let me finish, brother. Perhaps if they were freed from those limitations in the same way that we have been. I mean, you cannot deny that our unique perspective and relationship with death gives us a certain freedom to see the big picture, the long game.
Not really freedom, though, brother.
But if humanity was freed of the yoke of their mortality, who knows what they might accomplish? And I'm not saying there would not be missteps and problems along the way, but who is to say what they could achieve if given the opportunity?
They could, but the more they become like us, the less human they are. They'll become something else. Just like your ex-wife, no offense, meant that, losing their mortality changes them, their very nature, just like it did us. We once were at least mortal? I kind of question. There's a question in the air there because I don't truly know, because I died once and I came back.
I take no offence to your mention of my wife, although I would query your use of the word ex, since I'm not aware that our marriage vows have been annulled.
I mean, most religion. I'm not an expert in immortal theology, but usually it's death to us part, and you have died several times.
Indeed, however,
you've came back.
However, my wife was very much aware that I was not mortal when we were married, and the ways of joining in those days are not the ways of humans in today's society.
Perhaps. I'd be wary of such a union, though. We already have one enduring contract with our judge.
To my mind, much in the same way as I made a promise to the judges, and I fulfilled that promise to the best of my abilities, when I married my wife, that also was a promise that comes with its own duties and obligations.
A promise can have power. It's true.
Those
Just such as
duties
a
and
name.
obligations do not end simply because we have both changed since then.
There's something admirable in that, I suppose.
Indeed, and I still do not know what I'm going to say to Talaya
wonder
when
if
I
I
eventually see her.
I wonder if I had a family back in a Rem. If I had a wife or some such title, or son or daughter. Maybe an uncle. Maybe
In-
Cosmo's my uncle. Say
Maybe.
with a wide smile.
Indeed, and all I can tell you is, for I do not remember if you have had a significant other, all I will tell you is that although I regret some of what happened afterwards, I would not change it, because to do so would nullify the happiness that I had whilst we were in Sarda.
Changing it would be very difficult.
And happiness is a
Very
rare,
possible. I've read the books.
it's a rare commodity, even in our long lives.
It is. The more I remember, brother, I'll be honest, the more sorrowful our existence becomes.
Indeed, for although we live longer than mortals and we have more potential for good, we also have more opportunity to make mistakes, and those mistakes tend to be of greater magnitude when they are made.
No, I'm not trying to judge, but you have a point. Yeah. I see your point about helping the mortals, but it's, I always think these things are a double-edged sword. It's from my time with the Rishas and the Red Sparrow. Nothing comes for free, brother. Nothing, no favor, no gift. It never comes without a consequence, and intended or not.
Of course, nothing is without consequence, but it is my belief that we cannot let fear of potential consequences and potential downsides from preventing us attempting to do good. After all, the only way to avoid all consequences, and perhaps not even then, is to do nothing.
Yeah. But again, good from our point of view, brother, and mortal's point of view could be very different.
Indeed, but if we do not attempt to bridge that gap, then we will never know what might be. Perhaps there will be unforeseen consequences or disasters, as you say. But I would rather act and make mistakes than be frightened into inactivity by the mere possibility of doing so.
How do we know that a Rem didn't fall because of someone's good intentions?
We don't.
Yeah.
But if a Rem had not fallen, we would not be living in this world here right now.
I honestly don't know.
Even
For that one, brother, I don't know, because I remember waking up for my first time. But
even the Arisen, powerful as we are, cannot see all things and into the future and all possibilities. All we can do is try and do the best that we can do and trust the rest to fate.
You shouldn't trust fate. Not entirely.
What choice do we have?
It's a fickle thing. Make the best we can with what we have. Stick
Indeed.
together, brother.
And that is what I'm saying. We should be attempting to do more and make better with what we have, rather than be frightened into inactivity because of what might be in shadows of potential futures.
That's why I like collecting these weird and wonderful objects we find from our home. It's nice to have a touchstone, but also to get them out of the way of misuse and the potential horror, such as the box, wherever it is right now. We still don't have any idea where it is right now, do we?
No.
That was a question to the curse in the sky, but
No.
No,
No.
I thought so. Are you intending just to walk in and take this object? Are we
Yeah.
going to play this a
Yes,
bit more
that is my
slow?
plan. I intend to walk in, reclaim what is mine, and then leave.
I was hoping for a little bit more detail, brother.
I'm afraid I have no further details to give you, since I only have vague knowledge of its surroundings, and I do not know what we will find when we get there. I cannot concoct a further plan.
Okay. Is it in a museum? Is it
When I attempted to trace the strands of the second within it, I saw a white painted buildings in the Mediterranean style. I smelt meat cooking, red wine, and I saw a ruined temple populated by what I believe they call tourists, an ancient ruin. With the aid of the cult, obviously, I narrowed it down to Heraklion on Crete, but
that's a building, right? That's a
That's the city.
city. Okay.
It's a
Sorry,
big
the
city.
player is obviously an uncultured swine.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of the bigger cities on the island.
Right. Cool.
but
So
as to what we will actually find when we get there, I do not know.
either if I'm allowed to do this, either before we got on the plane or during this conversation with my brother's concept of a plan, I'm going to see if I can get the cult to try and get us a guide or at least a contact or at least some facility of the cult in Crete, just so we have like some boots on the ground to help us get to where we need to go, and God help us do
You,
this
you
without.
can you can have a rented car and a driver.
Oh,
That's not a problem at all.
like a guide if possible, like just a local.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the same guy can do that job as well.
Yeah.
So you can have a dude who's going to be both your chauffeur and sort of semi tour guide because they're local, so they can drive you around and tell you what's what.
Yeah.
And he's
And
been
also,
paid in advance, so he doesn't care.
also one of the my Charmed Lives features. So,
Mm.
when I book the hotel, it's just going to happen to have like a nice kind of balcony view of the city, but it's going to be facing in the direction of a REM, where REM is or was, but I don't know what direction that is.
Right.
That'll just be
Okay.
the fit.
Well, well, we're gonna jump forwards a bit here because
Okay.
this is all stuff on Crete. So you discuss on the
Yep.
plane. You are mostly left alone. You think it's probably because of Khufu.
I don't need to roll for that. Yeah.
No, it's people don't really want to get up in your business. You land in Crete, and in the airport, you're waiting there for your luggage because your cult sort of like set you up with, oh, here's some clothing and here's some other stuff for you, so that you can travel without looking like complete wizards. So they've explained to you how you should act. Like there's the packages are gonna come from the claiming area, and you're there, and there's the the luggage is rolling around. People are picking it up. Sobek, you got yours. Khufu, you're waiting for yours. As a man in a smart business suit, you'd think you saw him in the business class on the plane that you landed on.
Mhm.
And he walks up. He's got it's just a torn piece of, you think maybe from a notebook, in his hand, and he looks at you, Khufu, and says, in sort of heavily tinted English, says, "Hello." Very much not his first language, obviously. Do either of you speak English?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so he says in English, "Hello. I believe this is for you. And he sort of hands over this like folded piece of a torn off notebook page.
I'll take it and have a look at it.
Yeah. So as you take it, he turns to walk off into the crowd. It's a handwritten like quick note, really, just like someone opened a notebook and just like wrote on the page. And on the page in English once more is where's my notes? Here we go. It says, "Beware the lion's jaw. That dance ended long ago."
I'll hold it out to Sobek so we can have a look at it.
Oh, I can do enigmas. Oh my god. Does this count as an enigma?
It's cryptic, but it's not a riddle as such. You don't think?
One day.
Yeah, one day you will be able to use it when you and Kufu sit down for some D&D, and there's going to be some riddles.
Yes. God damn. I got excited there for a second.
Yeah. So I'm sorry about baiting that. I didn't recall your enigma skill.
Oh my god, enigmas.
Well, it would seem that this is a warning about pursuing the axe, given that it mentions the lion's jaw.
Yeah, because that's literally the name of the relic.
Yep.
Well, it would seem our presence is not unknown then, brother.
I think that is a safe assumption, given that we've just been approached by a stranger and they've given us a note.
I was kind of hoping it would be a friendly note.
When have you ever been approached by a stranger who's given you a note unsolicited and it has been friendly?
Has been some time. Now, the question is, did this come from one of our esteemed colleagues out in this part of the world or something else?
I'm not sure. I do not believe there is any way I would be able to tell from this note. It seems anonymous,
It's
written
a
on
small
modern
island,
material.
though, right? We could like bomb out our senses and have a feel around, right?
We could. I'm not hoping to be here that long. My plan is to simply retrieve my property and then leave.
In and out, what could possibly go wrong?
Indeed.
Okay. Well, let's get a hotel. Let's get like a base of operations first, brother.
As you wish.
And we should stay at least an evening.
Right. So, you of course, the flight is quite long because you come from all the way from Brazil. But yeah, you have your chauffeur is waiting for you outside the airport. Your hotel is all set up, and the chauffeur is lamenting that when your reservations were made, that he wasn't consulted. Like, he could have given pointers about the hotels, because he's been driving tourists around for a couple decades now. I guess this is probably like a middle-aged guy. Sort of really, he's a taxi driver, more or less. But you double as a sort of tour guide.
Yeah, he's totally unaware of. He's got two ancient mummies in his car.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be a cultist as such. He's lamenting the fact that no one consulted him, because the view that you got is facing inland, and he thinks that's dumb. Like, if you're a tourist and you come to Heraklion, you want to be facing towards the sea, but yours is inland, because, as we know, fate has decreed that the view is towards Irem, and Irem is in the south of Crete, and you're on the northern coast, so you're facing inland.
Cool.
So yeah, he's sorry about that. He's like, if you want, if you can cancel your reservation, I can.
No, this is
take
fine.
you to a different place.
This is fine.
As my brother said, it is no matter. We are, however, interested in visiting one of the ruined temples, the the tourist sites on the island, and I'll give him the sort of like the rough description from what I remember from my vision.
So you discuss with him. It takes a long old time. I'm gonna say it takes the whole rest of the evening to figure this out. So basically, you spent the first day sort of getting acclimated and setting up in Iraklion, and eventually he figures out that it's not so much directly in Iraklion, but it's in one of these villages somewhat outside of Iraklion, which are also visited by tourists who sort of want to go and look at the maybe the rural areas a little bit more. And of course, there's remnants there as well. To your surprise, perhaps, it's not like he doesn't point you towards the palace ruins at Knossos, which is the Minoan civilization vestige, so to speak, the major site for that kind of architectural tourism. It's not. It's in that direction, but Knossos is further south. This is one of the closer villages to Iraklion. But yeah, he's sort of pinpointed it. Like he's been figuring this out for a couple of hours now, and he's figured out that you're probably talking about this one specific village called Skalani. I'll put that in the chat. And he knows a good place there where you can get lamb and a very sort of a very nice local lamb and wine place. And if you want, we can do go see the ruins first, and then he can take you have a fantastic dinner in the sort of local style all night.
That sounds very agreeable.
Okay, so he's gonna pick you up in the morning, at, let's say somewhere around 9 or 10, and then you'll cruise down to the south. So we're just gonna jump right in to Skalani. I have some pictures here for us to set the mood. Now it's tinted in the sort of mummy official colors, but I do realize that it leaches a bit of the sort of vitality of it. But I think that's kind of thematic as well.
Sorry, man, it's the world of sepia.
Yeah, like everything's sepia colored when you're an immortal death sorcerer. There's a picture, and then we've got this one as well. So it's sort of like very. It's not like a farming village as such. It has, modern conveniences to some degree, but as you drove in, you did see these orchards of shrubs and small trees bearing different kinds of local agricultural produce. And that seems to be quite the thing in here. So probably a lot of the locals in Skalani specifically, and some of these other villages, probably agriculture, tourism, that kind of thing.
They're into trees, you say? Interesting.
Yeah, but they're not like massive things, but they are.
You want a
like
forest? I'll give you a forest.
smaller, tree-like plants that do bear fruit and other.
So like more your sort of like shrubs and bushes and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
there's like, I forgot. I think I looked up a list of the kind of produce, but that was a week ago, and I kind of forgot. But of course, there's the usual, olives as well.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can quickly get a glance here. I think I have it still. Okay, this might be it. So there's apricots, prunes, raisins, figs, olives. All these things are grown, as well as beans, eggplant, peppers, onions, all that kind of good stuff. So I guess like is apricot tree like? Apricot. Yeah, apricot trees. They are those kind of small-ish as far as like you comparing to like cedar trees and whatnot. Okay, so yep, you're in Scalani, and it's a quiet time. You wander the paved central couple streets in the village, in the warm sun and the shade provided by these. It's a mix of leafy and evergreen trees, and you see these traditional Mediterranean white painted, specifically Greek buildings here and there. To our modern eyes, a lot of it would look like some of the like public facing stuff on the main route probably looks like, oh, it's been it's being maintained and restored like this because of tourists. It's not really lived in as such. But yeah, there's a couple of cafes that you can see, and the sort of bric-a-brac memorabilia for tourists are being sold, but it's not really a major destination. That's further to the south in Knossos. That's where the streets are lined with curios and mementos. But this is more of a sleepy village with a little bit of a tourism business on the side. And your friend, who I will now name. Who are you, middle-aged Greek, Cretan man? There we go. Okay, so he says he's Xenon. So I'll put that in. Yeah, Xenon says that after having shown you around the central Scalani a little bit, says, well, this is the place, and you go do you, and he's going to be here in sort of the center of the village. He's going to be waiting here. Everything's sort of paid up front, so you don't need to worry about him. He's going to be here as long as you need, and you can look around as you please. The ruins to the temple of Artemis are that way, and when you want food, come back here, and I'll see you feasted as if we was all gods on Olympus. You're not exactly sure what that means, but
I think I'll probably crack a smile when he says that. Granted, he won't see it because it's behind my mask, but it's there.
Yeah. I take it you're maintaining your visage. Just
yeah.
He's just living it. Okay.
Just living my best life.
Do I sense on life? Do I sense any Sekhem in his vicinity?
Only in Khufu.
As we get nearer to the ruins, I'm gonna once again see if I can sense the lion's jaw. See if now I'm sort of geographically closer, whether I can get a more precise read on it.
Yeah, you walk specifically across these couple of scenes with the pictures that I showed. The first one is the sort of center where you were dropped off. You walk past this, which you think is probably a small chapel. You're not sure of the Christian variety. That's very familiar to you. You've been using that as a cover for centuries now. But you walk across the chapel grounds. The path continues forward, and eventually you end up in this area. There's a couple of older couples there, sort of strolling around. You can see the weather-worn remnants of a very modest-sized temple, but it's still a temple. It's not the kind of like a roadway shrine. It's an actual, or was an actual temple in its day, but it's been heavily weather-worn, of course, and also just destroyed like so many of these are. So it's sort of scattered around the original area. Pillars have collapsed onto their sides, And of course, the stone from these kinds of places has oftentimes been reused in later centuries. So not all of it is there at all. But you are led forward by the Sun Scarab's path into the ruins. A couple of these sort of elderly tourists who seem to be enjoying just the sort of slow walk around the architectural area, archaeological area, and taking pictures here and there, just sort of enjoying life. Like they're not in a hurry. They seem to fit right in with the sort of sleepy village vibe that you get from Scalani. And they don't really mind you at all. Like you get a couple of glances from the tourists, and they're just sort of like, well, you know, I guess that's a thing. That's a wizard now. That's fine. And you're led into the ruin itself. It kind of half stands still. The temple itself. There's pillars. There's walls. And as you step inside the actual place, there's you can see there's still a staircase as well leading down, sort of below the temple main hall area. But you are looking around, and you feel that the tug of Kefir is downwards now, and is very close indeed.
Yeah, if I can see a path that we can take in the direction that the Kefir is pulling me, I would obviously sort of make a beeline for that, and I'll sort of like very quietly under my breath, I'll be sort of like keep it, because I know Sobek can't really sort of sense this in the same way I can. So sort of under my breath, I'll be sort of like saying things like, "Oh, the Sun Scarab's path is telling me we need to go deeper," and I'll be sort of like every time we like get to somewhere and like we have to like turn or we have to take a different path, so under my breath very softly just to like Sobek to keep him up to date on what's going on. I'll be sort of telling him like, "Oh, I sense the Kefir is telling us to go in this direction," just so he knows what's going on.
You are muted in Zoom as well.
Yep. Sorry about that. Yeah. Who owns this place, brother? Whose place are we trespassing upon?
Well, it is a tourist site, so I would suggest it belongs to whichever mortal authorities have dominion over that sort of thing on this island. If there is any, to use a dramatic phrase, secret master behind it, I would not be aware of it at this present time.
Any signs of security forces or like
Not
anyone
really.
paying? I mean, obviously, Cthulhu's catching eyes.
Yeah.
With his outlook, but not. What was the message again, John? Sorry, what was the message? The lion.
The message we received said, "Beware the lion's jaw. That dance ended long ago."
I have a horrible feeling that could be referring to the, the Night Stalker, the Night Seducer.
You mean Messer de Carrot?
That guy, yeah.
The hate in the night.
The Hate in the Night. I always get the name wrong.
Yeah.
The Hate in the Night. He's the uncool dude in the night. Yeah, that guy.
Nightcrawler.
That crawler. The
Oof.
yeah. Perhaps this is its domain, but I think we'd sense it though, wouldn't we?
Yeah. if Mesa Decada was here, unless they have access to some kind of magic that shields them from your senses, you would be able to sense the Sekhem. And every time that you remember having faced him in the first turn, he had Sekhem. So presumably that would be the case.
Indeed, I believe we would have sensed Messer de Carrot's presence were he here, unless he has powerful arts that can conceal it from us, which is, of course, a possibility.
Well, someone said that knowing your personal history with it, so long-lived is likely, or at least well-researched.
Yeah, the thing is as well, because of the amount of flashbacks we've had, you also remember that you did not remember the lion's jaw before 2016.
Yeah. Someone else did.
Well, obviously it has moved and probably passed ownership since I last held it. It is perhaps not surprising that the current owner, if indeed that's who sent the note, does not wish to return it.
It might not even be the owner, it just might be someone who's aware of why we're here.
Perhaps.
No one's approached. Why send a man? Why not talk to us directly? We're not dangerous. We're not likely to cause.
He says, being an undead sorcerer from millennia ago.
I would suggest that
I prefer
perhaps,
practitioner, isn't it?
I would suggest, brother, that perhaps if consider this from the point of view of, let's call it the custodian of the lion's jaw, for want of a better term, that if you are holding this artifact and you somehow receive word that two ancient creatures who have walked the world since before the great empires of Egypt and possess powers the like of which mortal men know not, that perhaps we might indeed be considered extremely dangerous. They have no way of knowing that we are largely peaceable in our intent.
Largely. Yeah.
It would also seem to suggest to me that they perhaps doubt they have the might to force us from this place, or perhaps they are uncertain with our intents, as if they believed that it was a simple matter to force us to leave, they would have done so rather than sending the note. Or perhaps they simply wish to test the waters because they are unaware of our intent. Either way, I believe we should continue and follow the sun scarab's path, and what will happen will happen. I suggest we trust to the whims of fate in this regard.
Let's see what fate has in store for us today.
Indeed. Let us continue.
So you continue on. As you've sort of looked around in the inside of this temple, you note something that strikes you as being quite interesting, perhaps even a little surprising. You notice hints of, Egyptian kind of architecture, maybe a little bit here. It is a sort of Greek or Hellenic structure, but there's a bit of the old country that you now remember so vividly from the first turn. There's some aspects of it in the construction here, the shape of certain aspects of the ruins. And as you head down, because there's the staircase still extant somehow, maybe it's been excavated, and it leads down. As you go, there's a plaque on the wall which sort of lays out some details about the site. It's there, sort of shielded from the elements. The plaque itself, I mean, on the wall of the staircase, the stairwell. Well, not really a stairwell, but it says that this site was once the temple to Artemis, the Olympic god. And it was specifically in her aspect as the mistress of animals that this was dedicated to. And there's some art inside where you're about to step, says the plaque, which highlights these aspects specifically of Artemis. And it is unknown exactly what the significance of the sort of Egyptian features of the temple are, because the Artemis figure presented here isn't really an amalgam, as far as they understand. Like it's not a fusion of other gods into Artemis, which was a thing a lot of the times when Egypt and Greece met. they tended to put gods in a blender and figure some new solution out. But this is just Artemis as the mistress of animals, and for some reason there's like pillars that seem Egyptian, some of the architectural ratios Egyptian, and they're not sure why. And more perplexing is that the plaque continues to tell the tale that this place was somehow associated with another site some distance to the south, which was more or less like a burial ground. But the interesting part in the burial ground as well was Artemis not necessarily a funerary deity as such, and the burial site involved cremated bodies that were headless, because they know this because the heads were buried separately in like an adjacent area of the burial site, and they're not. The plaque says that anthropologists and archaeologists are not exactly sure what is going on there as well, but they're sort of working on it. And the running theory is currently the current theory is that perhaps this is a layering of different cultures or approaches. It's they're not sure that you can connect the burial ground to the Temple of Artemis, really. Maybe it's a Minoan site, and then the Greeks later built or the Hellenic Greeks anyway, built the Artemis temple there. But, they're just laying out all the facts. And as maybe we as players know, history is kind of fractured. Like, we don't know a lot of stuff. We just sort of found things out in the same area, and then you try to walk it back. But sometimes you can't. And currently they're saying they can't really walk back some of these details long enough to connect them. But you get this info from the plaque there. It's in several different languages, and you can read it at least in English. Right, so you walk in, you finish the steps, and you're in a short corridor, which has a hole, as shown in the picture there, which I've just now put up. Aside from what you see on the picture here, there's also pillars explicitly, of course, for propping up the upper floor of the temple. So add that with your mind's eye to the picture. It's a short corridor with sort of small alcoves on either side, and then pillars supporting the upper levels of the temple, and also the collapsed part there, which also has a collapsed pillar underneath the rubble. But you can see daylight streaming in.
I was going to say, what's the lighting level like in here?
It's decent because of the hole at the end of it. It's in sort of twilight, because there's the source of light is on both ends of the corridor, but it's slanted at both ends, so it's kind of half lit. But you can see quite well. Even Sobek, Khufu can see no problem because you're living in the now.
That's it. I was going to say, I'm going to make sure I've got that affinity buzzing away.
Yeah, but Sobek can see as well. Maybe not so detailed in the alcove bits there, because the light doesn't really reach in too deep. But yeah, you feel, Khufu, very strongly that the Sunscar's path leads towards one of these pillars here. From your entry point to the end, it's in sort of the middle distance, sort of in the darkest place currently.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm not bothered by the darkness myself, so I'm gonna make a beeline straight for that place. I'll be sort of looking around, sort of making myself aware of my surroundings, like keeping an eye on like my periphery, because obviously we're going into an unknown location. I'm aware that someone could try and ambush us here, so I'm going to be keeping an eye out, but I'm going to make my way pretty much in like a straight line towards
the pillar.
Yeah.
Sobek, what's up?
I'm like, no one's approached us. There's no, like, I was kind of expecting some kind of resistance after that note, so I'm just.
Yeah, you saw some tourists up.
I'm just on
like
guard.
Pensioners.
Anyone who has an idea what this thing is would protect it. I don't believe this is innocently left here just for us to come pick it up like a parcel.
Well, someone literally told you, like, maybe don't.
What are we missing? But as my brother said, fate will deliver that answer, I suppose. I would use some of my abilities, but I don't have any willpower. I'm out of juice.
Oh yeah, so you've had, let's say 2, because it does take quite a bit of time for you to travel there. and you had like a layover, and you spent a lot of time in France as well, because you had to change planes there. So you spent some time in De Gaulle International Airport.
Well, let's just say so, mate. We're going into a temple that was someone who had adopted the persona of a Greek god and yet had ties to ancient Egypt, and also was linked to a tomb nearby. Now, that's sort of ticking all those arisen boxes quite neatly for me. So
we don't sense any arisen.
Yeah, I'm keeping like my Sechem sensors on the like tingle in case like suddenly like we get like a rush of Sechem as some like ancient Greek arisen tries to like bum rush us from the darkness. But I'm hoping the fact they sent that note rather than just like appearing and being like "get out of my territory" means they like don't want a direct confrontation. Although I'm hoping they're actually going to show up and like explain why I shouldn't take my axe back, because I'm quite willing to listen to them if they present a reasonable case. We're just sort of going, no, it's not for you, isn't going to discourage me.
You'll be like, I think not.
Yeah, the thing there is as well, like it's literally your job to do that. Like this is the reason why you exist.
Yeah, exactly. It's rare that my personal feelings and my sort of duties to the judges like align so neatly. So whoever wants me to stay away from the lion's jaw is going to have to give me like a pretty good reason.
So Sabek, you're looking around, you're pondering.
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna activate my god sight.
Okay.
Ooh.
Give us that roll.
Do I need to roll at this stage?
Yes. I do believe it takes a point.
It's an occult, isn't it? I'll boost it for the rest of the scene. Wits and occult, yeah.
I forget exactly what it is, but there's something when you use the.
I was just checking because I think you can apply a minus in a certain.
Yeah, let me pull that up as well.
Right, yeah, so I can detect power use, possibly.
There we go. Pay 1 willpower to boost your awareness for the rest of the scene.
Yep, I'm all over that.
Wits and occult.
All over that. Wits and occult. I have wits and I have occult. I also have occult.
So apply a penalty of -1 for simple or common effects, -3 for most effects, -5 for rare or complex effects. Oh, right. So yeah, yeah, we've kind of been using this wonky, I guess. So you can spend your willpower now, and your god side is on, and when there is stuff for you to notice, then you roll.
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if I needed to roll at this stage.
Yeah, I had read that wrong.
I've highlighted it ready then for the roll to occur.
I read that wrong like 20 sessions ago and never revisited it, I guess.
All right, mate.
Right. Okay, so you
got all eternity to get this right.
Yeah. I mean, even if you got it wrong for 4,000 years, there's still infinity to get it right. Right. So you spent your willpower and you have your god side there. So Khufu, you've looked around the area, the alcoves.
Yeah.
Most of them just empty, just dust and stone and sand, that kind of thing. Maybe dried, plant matter a little bit, and animal droppings, because it's very open to the elements here.
Yeah.
And there's maybe some, just because of your fairly deep expertise with religious rituals and that kind of thing, you think maybe there's some votive offerings that have long since decayed, and you find nothing really in the alcoves or the ground, and you feel it's the pillar itself.
Okay, well, obviously I know the axe isn't a giant pillar, so what I'm going to start doing is I'm assuming it's somehow concealed or like built in or like hidden in the pillar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start examining the pillar, like tapping it with my staff, seeing if there's like a hollow bit.
Yeah.
Looking around, so running my fingers over it, looking for any like concealed sort of like catches or anything like that.
Yeah. You can fairly easily figure out that one of the middle bits, because there's like stone cut blocks,
Yep.
arrayed like a pillar is. One of them does sound a bit different from the others as you sort of smack around with your staff.
Okay.
So maybe that one is a somewhat hollow or has like a hollow compartment inside.
Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to use my dust beneath feet, which allows me to like swim through like rock and stuff like that. And my plan is literally because I can like items I'm holding or worn come with me. So my plan is to just like reach inside the pillar. If I feel like axe, grab with hand, and then withdraw hand through the stone.
That is fantastic, and
It isn't until like some sort of poisonous dart trap goes off, and I'm like,
yeah. So there's the end of the corridor opens, and there's a rolling boulder.
that's fine if it's a boulder, because I'll just let it go.
Yeah, he's just like
through
what?
me.
And then Sobek is like,
Don't worry,
I am
Sobek,
too
I'll
deep
carry
now.
your body back.
so
This time I'll be carrying you, brother. This time this is one axe too many.
Okay, let me make a roll here.
If ever there was a title for a session, that's it. One axe too many.
It's too many.
An axe too far. Okay. What? Oh shit.
He's just read the bit where it's like, if you reach inside this container, you die.
Yeah, it's literally that trap from D&D where you put your hand in.
Oh, like the sphere of annihilation, where it's like nullifies
he's
you.
just fucking dead.
Just gonna like pull my arm out, and they'll be like, no arm.
Yeah.
Oh,
No. So you use your utterance, dust beneath the feet, and you reach in, and sure enough, you grasp the handle, the finely engraved wooden handle of the lion's jaw, and you just retrieve it through the pillar. And Sobek, you watch just reach in through the stone as if it's nothing, and just pull out the axe seemingly without effort from the stone.
Impressive, brother. You must have known it was there. I thought we were still a ways off.
I could sense the sun scarab's path, and the simple act of rapping on this pillar told me that this section was hollow. Therefore, it followed that the axe was concealed inside, and I have no wish to despoil this ancient monument by breaking into the fabric of it when it is within my power to withdraw the axe without doing so. I believe this is a place that is worthy of respect, since there are many people have left offerings here, though they be decayed. That does not lessen the devotion with which they were placed.
So Sobek, the axe appears.
Is this the axe that I remember from way back?
Yes. It's
Exactly
the
the same.
wooden handle with the one half of a lion's jawbone with there's original teeth, but then there's also these like onyx stone replacement teeth on it. It's exactly as you remember it from the first turn. Now you have your god side on, so please make a roll of wits plus occult -5.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
The axe is also cursed.
Yeah, every relic is
That's
cursed.
going to be a difficult roll for me to make. Okay. Well, let's try.
I've pulled a cursed axe out, and I'm dressed like an evil wizard. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, 0 successes. Yeah, with one die. That's highly like. Now, if you want to, I'm happy for you to invest your remaining willpower into that roll, like after the fact, because we didn't talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want, like, I'm not sure if you want, but
let's tap me out again. Let's do it. An extra
Yeah,
3
it's-
dice, right?
yeah, 3 days. You can.
You
put
never
the-
know. This could be very
sure.
important information for John. So just don't expect anything good off me after this. Nope.
No.
Nope.
No. Okay, so you
It's been thousands of years, Axe. Still don't understand you.
yeah. So you recognize some of these effects going on here. So you recognize that Khufu is using an utterance, and you've seen him use this multiple times. It's you recognize what it is. It's dust beneath feet, and then it is indeed the Uta relic that you remember from so long ago in the first turn that he has just retrieved from the stone. Right.
Like,
Are we what's going on now that Khufu has retrieved the axe?
this has been far too easy. I think this in-game and my character thinks this has been it's never this simple, brother. It's never this simple.
I believe now we have accomplished what we came here to do. We can leave, if you wish.
Let's try.
I would like to spend a little more time here, if you do not mind,
Sure.
to continue examining the surroundings of this building and perhaps look at the tomb that the plaque mentioned to the south. Since, as I said, I believe such buildings are, particularly those that chronicle the
Do you
deeds
have
of
any
the
way
dead.
to cover up that axe? Because it looks pretty noticeable.
As you have said on a number of occasions, brother, I'm dressed like a wizard. I don't think adding an axe to the ensemble is going to make a great deal of difference.
It does give you an air of more threatening, though.
Good.
Okay. Well, I guess we move on.
Yeah,
Did you at least put it under your robes?
if that will make you feel more comfortable, brother.
I'm just trying to avoid a mild Sabaris, if you know what I mean.
So I'm gonna tuck it in my belt, but have the robe pulled over it, but so that I can reach in and grab it if I need to. My plan is literally just to spend a bit more time exploring this building, paying my respects. If I've got anything on me, like a bit of food or something like that, that I can leave where the other offerings were as a mark of respect, I will do that. And then I want to go and have a look at this tomb that the plaque mentioned was to the south, because obviously tombs, that's my thing.
The dead.
And also I'm thinking, if it wasn't Arisen who left this message, the tomb's a probably good place to look for him.
And no, you don't sense any Sakem anywhere. Nothing. It's just
No.
All right. Okay.
Well, you can, if you want to, you can, but you probably recall some of the info anyway from the first turn. But you have, no, is it Eyes of Justice only for your own relics? Was that it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's the only second sources currently here are Sabek, Khufu, and the relic.
Okay, then. We're good, I think.
Right, so you secrete the axe beneath your robes, and you leave the short corridor underneath the temple to Artemis. And as you reach daylight, you are immediately pelted by a couple of quite expensive system cameras thrown by furious elderly tourists, and they launch at you with there's the man with his white mustache and neatly pressed summer wear is coming at you with the fucking tripod for a camera. It's just coming at you, Khufu, just trying to hit you. He's apparently his wife. She's got scissors and is coming at you. These guys will basically jump you as you come up, and I will roll for them now.
Well, that was unexpected.
Okay, so you step back to dodge the tripod, and in doing so, because you've already your momentum is backwards, the old lady was sort of in your dead corner, dead angle, and you feel something sharp like enter like through sort of behind the mask, like from your neck into your cheek. Like she just like the the scissors go in. Right. So Sobek, you see this happening as Khufu sort of almost reaches the end of the stairs up there, and these people are just like furiously yelling as they're trying to beat on Khufu. Khufu, you take 1 lethal damage from the scissors that are now in your mouth.
Am I getting any weird magic vibe from them? Like,
yeah, you can roll because you have your god side. You can roll your wits and occult -1.
right, here we go. This one might work.
Got it in the bag.
Maybe we'll see. Ooh, 2
Yeah.
successes.
Yeah. They got hit with Subaris. They're kind of overwhelmed by the death magic just unleashed here.
We didn't cast anything.
We did.
I did. I used an utterance to reach through the stone.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess the subtlety's gone. There's no reasoning with somebody with Subaris, is there?
Not truly. It's them being unable to deal with the emanations of Duat that have been sort of sent out into the world. Like knocking them out would be a thing.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to two-door chop them.
Okay, let's go.
Austin Power style.
Let's go. They're not. I will say they're not really trained combatants. This was pure luck that the lady got the scissors stuck in Khufu's mouth from behind.
It's fate.
Yeah, but you're free to do your roll there.
Do I need to roll this? Okay.
Yeah, whatever your martial arts stuff is, you can.
I was kind of hoping they wouldn't need this would not require a roll. Okay.
Basically, what I'm with the roll, like the results are not in question. Is something gonna go bad? Is the thing here?
Right. I don't have any brawl or any type of like physical martial arts training. Could I go with strength and streetwise? I'm just kind of like.
You're trying to do some absolute like dirty fighting stuff. Like it's not even martial art. It's like you're trying to like put thumbs in eyes and.
I don't want to kill him. I just want to knock him out or disable him.
You can give a go with that strength and streetwise.
Right. That's just streetwise.
Yeah. What did you learn on the mean streets of Abju?
That's the best I could do, really. Oof.
2 successes. Okay. Khufu, are you doing anything specific as this goes on?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is because you said I was just like getting to the top of the stairs.
Yeah, you were just like, I guess we're going what, and then.
Okay, so my plan is with one hand I'm going to pull the scissors out of my cheek.
No problem. You got scissors now.
Indeed, and then with the other, as an instant action, so I can do the first one for free. I'm going to use my by steps unseen to basically do my short to jump teleport. Sort of like come out of the shadows, like behind the person who's just stabbed me, and like into their back.
Yeah, that's no problem. There's no because Sobek is doing like dirty tricks, which is why we roll. You use Iremite magic. They can't defend against that shit. So. You step up, you dodge the tripod, you dodge straight into the scissors that go in your neck and through your neck into your mouth. You pull the scissors out, step backwards through the shadows behind the old lady who stabbed you and stabbed the old lady. And Sobek, you go in with the sort of like I think the thing here could be that you just sort of like kick the guy in the shin and then just like go in for the throat and the eyes. It's so like jabbing into him, and yeah, you can just pummel him into the ground. It's
Yeah,
and
I
you
don't
got
want to kill
successes,
them.
so yeah, you
I
don't need to kill him. No,
because
no.
we're not, our cult is not in control in this area.
Mhm.
Bodies will create more problems for us in the future. So it's just
Yep. But you can put him to the ground, no problem.
To be fair, with regards to the woman, she stabbed me once. I've stabbed her once back. That seems fine.
Yeah,
to
we're
me.
even.
Yeah.
retribution is swift.
Mhm.
And then so like while she's sort of like presumably, I'm gonna, because obviously I've got knowledge of like anatomy and like
Yep.
mortuary science and whatever. So I'm gonna like stab her somewhere that's gonna be painful and possibly like
Yep.
slightly debilitating, but it's not gonna be a mortal injury because like.
Yep.
I'm like, you've stabbed me once. Oh, that's a minor inconvenience. It's not like, you have stabbed me, you must die.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, I will wait for like 5 minutes and I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to like, I'm basically stabbing her with the idea of like, while she's like on the ground and can't pursue her, we can then just walk away and not have to worry about
Yeah,
it.
and that's entirely within your means. And then she goes down with a whimper, because they will indeed stop what they're doing once they get. Let's see.
See, this is where my my wizardly garb's going to come in handy, Sobek, because like, if they do remember any of this, when they're trying to describe us to the police, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, one of them looked like this, this, and this. The other one was wearing a wooden mask and looked like a wizard."
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yes, a wizard. Yeah. All right. So you dispatched these pensioners.
We get out of there.
Where to next?
Yeah, my plan's to leave and head south towards the tomb.
All right, Sobek.
I mean, I don't have any reason not to go with Kufu in this regard. Although I'm sort of like still trying to puzzle out if someone was going to warn us, is it a friend or foe? And if it is the Arisen, why haven't they shown up yet? Suffolk turned, so they should be about, right? That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Impolite not to say hi.
Now you're pissed at this imaginary Arisen that you
improper behavior. Yeah.
It's like, how rude these people here.
Rude. They did not come and see us.
Not even a welcoming layout. Right. So you make your way to the south and you come upon this area, which again there's a metal pole sticking out from the field with a smaller plaque and describing the location. There's not a lot there. There's a sort of depression in the ground where you see the there's been excavations, and there's a small, very sort of, it's not to keep anyone out, but it's sort of to delineate the area. There's small wooden sticks, I guess, sticking up from the ground, and between them goes a small wire to sort of indicate this is the area of the burial grounds. And there's not a lot there. The plaque explains that the remnants that were found here have been located in such and such museum on basically mainland Greece.
So from what it says and the evidence we can see in front of us, is it a case of like the tomb's no longer here, or is it just a case of like it's buried?
It's what you can read from the plaque is there's maybe not a tomb as such. Maybe it was more of a we put bodies in the ground.
Okay.
There's obvious, like, it wasn't just oh, the village got sick and everyone died from the sickness and we tossed the bodies in a pit. Like, it wasn't that, because there was some kind of significance to the fact that they found like burnt remains and also like remains stored in some sort of vessels here, also burned. So they were using cremation here, but they hadn't cremated the heads for whatever reason, and they found the heads buried in like this sort of this end of the area that you're looking at now. So they've extracted the burned remains, the sort of clay vessels with the ashes inside and the heads from the ground, and they've taken those somewhere where they're not exposed to the elements. But yeah, it's basically a sort of excavated bit of field with this plaque that tells you that this is where we found this stuff.
So I'll spend a little bit of time sort of like paying my respects again. If I've got like a little bit of something I can leave as like an offering, I will do. And then I'm going to turn, after a short while, I'll turn to Sobek and say, what I suggest we do now, brother, is we return to the hotel. We wait there for another day. That will give this potential Arisen chance to make further contact if they wish. If they do not, then I suggest we leave and return to Rio.
That sounds fair.
Then let us return to our guide, perhaps sample some of the local delicacies, and then return to the hotel.
Right, so you make it back to Skalani. You meet up with Xenon, who is very pleased to show you to the restaurant of no doubt his friend, that serves the local lamb dish that he's been going on about, and the wines.
I shall try this lamb dish.
So you're treated to a full meal dinner at this place, and basically, yeah, you can spend your evening here unless you're in a hurry to get back to Iraklion. Xenon will sort of host you in Skalani for the evening.
Yeah, I think the plan's to spend most of the evening here, just sort of like soaking up a bit of the atmosphere of the place, and then when it sort of starts getting a bit late on, get Xenon to take us back to the hotel, and then we'll stay there for the day afterwards as well, giving this imaginary Arisen chance to make contact if they want and if they indeed exist. And then if we don't hear anything, sort of obviously we'll spend the next day there and the night. Then the morning after, if we've not heard anything, we'll book our plane back through various means to Rio.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So you have a great time in Skalani, enjoying the feast. There's some music. At some point, you hear Xenon talk to someone from the restaurant about how like some of these American tourists apparently like they speculate, oh, they got probably heat struck or something, like maybe their medication was having an adverse reaction to, maybe they drank alcohol with their meds or something, because they apparently went crazy in the ruins, like started beating on each other with their camera equipment. And you hear that they've been recovered from the site and taken into Iraklion to be treated in a hospital. And yeah, you have a great night there, heading back into Iraklion. You spend a day there looking about. It's a nice place as cities go. And it's somewhat, reminiscent of your previous lives.
Obviously, we'll be keeping sort of like an eye out, metaphorically speaking, for traces of Sekhem. And periodically, I'll also use my death sight to make sure like we're not being like tracked by any spirits or anything like that that are following us.
You do note, of course, there's a couple of spirits almost anywhere. You do note the sort of usual amount of lingering ghosts in the twilight. You also spot a couple of what you think is probably heartless, because they are not mindless, zombies. But actual like people figures.
I'm not expecting it to be the case, but like if I've noticed these heartless, I'll sort of like, without trying to draw attention to myself, I'll keep an eye on them, because I'll be interested if any of them like respond to the mask I'm wearing. If they don't, then I'll assume they're not the sort of Sardarites, so I wouldn't want to expect them to be here. But just on the off chance, I'll be sort of like keeping half an eye on them.
Yeah. If you explicitly taken the science experiment to like, I will show them the mask and see.
Well, I'm wearing it, so if they see me, they'll.
Yeah. So no, you've not been sort of getting. You get looks from people, but no one's been like, okay, what's this, and then follow you home. Like that hasn't happened.
That's fine. I wasn't really expecting them to be the Sardarites, but just on the off chance, it's worth sort of keeping an eye on.
Yep.
And obviously, I'll again, so under the guise of like when there's other conversation going on around us to like mask what I'm saying, I'll sort of lean in close to when I spot these heartless, I'll lean in close to Sobek, and I'll just sort of like subtly like point out to him that they're heartless. Because I see my dead sight can see them. It does not appear so. I'm simply making you aware of the situation. They don't seem to be particularly aware of us, from what I can gather.
Yeah, they clearly cannot sense Sechem the way you guys do.
And obviously, as you say, it is not our place here to take action.
Well, they're clearly an abomination. But we're not here on a war footing.
Indeed. But just in case, I don't expect anything to happen with them, but just in case, I wanted to make you aware of them in case you do spot them in a different situation.
Okay. I will study the ones he points out to me. Study their faces. Well, obviously not like just go up to them and be like, just from a distance. Just be like,
What up?
what up? Who dis?
Yeah, new life. Who dis?
I see
you. Right. So you muck around in Iraklion, and no further notes appear. The Heartless don't notice you. It's a nice day off. This whole trip has taken several days by now as well. You I think you get word, you get a text message from your cult. And let me.
Rio's on fire. Where are you? on vacation.
Yeah, I mean, you're not far off.
No, John, not the cult.
Yeah, no, it's the cult. The cult has reached you through, like, you're not sure about their methods and whatnot because you've not designed those. They have, and you're not the sort of. You're not exactly secret society masterminds, really. So you don't know their methods, but
what about Khufu has given that away?
You get word from your cult, and they convey the information that the favela raids have started, and they started some time ago, but they've had to make sure that they're not gonna, by reaching out, that they're not gonna, cause any further trouble. But the favelas are currently bad. The cult lets you know that they thought it might be different, like worse. They had prepared for worse, as in like open, large-scale violence. But they think that maybe something changed because that was sort of the expectation on your part, and also from what they knew.
We smoothed it over.
But like something has changed. It wasn't the fire on the streets necessarily. It's been rather more sinister but more contained. So it's basically, these paramilitary folk going into favelas, all masked up, balaclavas, that kind of thing, in the dark of night, and just people disappear. There's firefights, but that's not really like that happens between the law enforcement and some of these criminal elements in the favelas. But basically, the outright violence and the war that they were expecting has apparently somehow pivoted to basically just an epidemic of nighttime raids and assassinations, and that, like, they're grateful that it's not like outright buildings on fire all the time and like corpses in the streets, but it's also it's really bad on its own, because like somehow these spec op guys now just, it's free range in the favelas just for them to do whatever they want. They assassinate people, they make people disappear. they've gone full offensive, but it was a sort of, you know, subterfuge offensive instead of the like blunt force trauma that they were expecting, and they end their sort of report on the sort of disconcerting note that it's not like the blunt force approach is in any way like off the table. Like maybe this is just the first salvo. Like maybe they're going to escalate to that, but currently it's a very bad time to stand out for whatever these people are, because it's the UPP, of course, on at least on the surface, but you guys know there's probably some, you know, ancient interests behind this kind of thing. So currently the targets of these raids are having a very bad time, and they might be dead. And your cult has gone to ground and also been hit by these raids. So basically they let you know that there's a number of our people just, they're gone. Like, and they will never be found again, because this is not a police operation anymore. It's, you know, guys in unmarked vans and balaclavas just killing folk. And yeah, so your cult is telling, you know, we're gonna go on the turtle defensive. We're just gonna go underground and just disappear. But it's bad. Just so you know, when you come back, it's your cult is gonna be rather more limited now, because they need to be on the down low.
Deal with this, yeah.
Yeah, they need to not die is the thing. Right. So you get that while you're sort of moseying around Irakdan.
Hopefully they will be able to weather this storm while we retrieve this object. We have trained them well, instructed them as best we can.
We did also have the foresight to leave a single publicly visible aspect of our cult, a sacrificial lamb, if you will. So with any luck, the main hammer blow has fallen on that aspect of the cult rather than those which are actively more important to us.
Still, it always grieves me when we lose our people.
Indeed. But we knew this was coming.
They serve a
But
how do you find your axe? Is it any different from what when you had it originally?
I presume, as I've been sort of like holding the axe, obviously I've been like looking at it when I'm back in the hotel room and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I presume I've not noticed anything inherently different about it.
It feels like it has the same properties. You sort of, because you remember what it used to do.
Yep.
And it does feel like it's probably gonna do the same kind of stuff again. Of course, and you know that relics are like, they don't really gain new powers as such.
Yep.
Or lose them unless you destroy them.
They don't get stronger in time.
Maybe there's some craft, but you don't know about any of that.
Yeah, I'll just say it seems much as I remember it.
Alchemist BS.
The axe seems much as I remember it, brother.
Interesting. It is rare that we get reunited with a relic that we had once owned. We do have a habit of taking them with us to do that, except obviously the one we cannot name.
Indeed.
Yeah, the nameless relic looks straight into camera.
Yeah. Wherever it is.
Yeah, so I love we've got Sobek there, and he's like, apart from the nameless relic. But I suggest, as I've said before, we spend another day here, and then, assuming nothing further happens, we return to Rio.
Sounds amicable. I enjoy seeing other parts of the world, especially ones we may have seen previously. I don't remember us coming to Crete on a previous turn. What we could have done long ago.
Yeah, you did spend quite a bit of time in the Mediterranean area. You recall from the flashback to Sarda. Of course, Sarda is in Syria, what is modern Syria. So it's like you've been around these parts, but you don't remember a lot, but you know that you have been here in the Mediterranean in general.
Mm. I'll return to the hotel. Have a nice dinner.
Yep, get some souvlaki on, and
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we'll probably spend the next day, sort of like our last day here, if nothing untoward happens, just generally walking around, sort of like soaking up a bit of the local colour, etc. You know, so making ourselves fairly visible. So if this hypothetical arisen does want to make contact, they can do. If nothing happens, then we'll spend the night, and then come the next morning, we'll book our plane back.
Is the axe still cursed as well?
yeah, every relic is always cursed.
Cursed for eternity.
Yeah, it's like the curse is. It's sort of like faulty to talk about it in like separate terms, because the curse is a part of the magic of the artifact.
Its deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually it's kind of related as well. Like it's tied to whatever the artifact is doing.
Right then.
So, Sabek, do you anything you want to get up to in Heraklion before we head on? Because you will have no contact from your host, the nameless mummy of Crete. Wom, wom, wom.
I suppose I'll ruminate on this place, see if I jugs up any memories. Explore a bit of the city we're in.
Give me a fate roll of 1d10.
1d10. Okay.
No. So
I wasn't sure if one was good or bad in this case.
Yeah, no, that's this was a. Do you remember something specific or no? And the answer was no. So yeah, you ruminate on what you've seen in the village and in Heraklion, and yeah, of course, what you do know is that Crete is a place with a long history. The Minoan ruins in Knossos, very old. There's been people around here for a long, long time.
Nearly as long as this.
Yeah, so highly likely the Arisen would have had their hands somewhere along the line in history and in these parts. Whether or not that's anything you've seen so far, don't know.
I think given that we've got like a spare day where we're just going to be travelling around, you know, to sort of enjoy ourselves and do a bit of sort of recreational stuff, I'll probably, if there's like any like local graveyards or sort of memorials or anything like that,
at the graveyards,
I'll probably go and visit them.
Let's see.
That is a very Kufu type of thing to do.
Okay, what do we have? We have Catholic Cemetery of Heraklion, Saint Constantine Cemetery. Yeah, there's a couple in the middle of Heraklion.
Yeah, I'm not really planning on doing anything specific when I go there, but obviously I'm interested in sort of like chronicling the deeds of the dead. So I'll just be going there, like having a look at the graves and whatever inscriptions there are and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the Saint Constantine cemetery specifically is what I'm looking at now, via the magic of Google Maps. Is it's one of those cemeteries with everything's just white marble and these small crypts that have been built sort of mostly into the ground, and then there's a little bit up top as well, just rows and rows upon like white marble, gray marble, gray granite. I don't know what the stones are, but sort of light colored stone edifices, just the whole place through, and then interspersed are these great big trees that shadow the graveyard. So you wander this uh, funerary landscape of crypts and plaques commemorating the people of Crete. It does feel familiar to you in the way that these places usually do. Not because of any particular, like you've been using the trappings of especially Catholicism for a long time, like we've established, but
Yeah.
It's the fact that this is the same thing that people have been doing since, as far as you know, time began. So it's building edifices to the dead against the sort of weight of eternity, like trying to like make some mark that we were here, like we mattered somehow. And that's sort of that speaks to you on a quite like deep level, because
Yeah,
that
I
is
think I'll probably
also
find that quite comforting because obviously part of my whole deal is making sure that those who've travelled westward aren't forgotten. So I'll probably take some solace in the fact that there's this familiar sort of feeling like way of mortals trying to remember their dead.
so it's a very it's a nice visit for Khufu in that regard. It feels good to be here, and you sort of it's rejuvenating for you because of who you are as a person and as a risen and a death priest. Sabek, is there anything particular you want to partake of on the island of Crete?
Since I've not found any of my hombre arisen around,
No.
I'm gonna probably go to a library. Oh, it sounds
Mm-hmm.
so scribe, but see with the books.
Right. So
Use the library, look at the covers, look for anything on Carthage. No, seriously, I'll be looking at them. Examining the architecture and me and Kufu have talked many times about the accomplishments of mankind through the ages. Interesting to see the old mixed with the new.
So, as you wander about in Heraklion, there's a number of different architectural styles there. Again, speaking to the number of different kinds of people who have at least held sway here over the centuries. You got, rural Greek styles. You've, especially in the city area proper, you get a lot of old Italian architecture, because this used to be, uh, an Italian or like Venetian, I forget which exactly, sort of Latin trading post, city, town. And you get like different flavors of architecture from different centuries just in the one city as well. So you can just point towards the march of history by looking at the buildings. Like this was built in the 1600s, and then as X and Y happened, then these people came here and they built this kind of structures, and it's all happened in the span of like
It's all mixed
centuries.
together.
Yeah, it's a
I
very
wonder.
varied town, and when it comes to that kind of thing.
Hmm, it has a storied history. I think about maybe there's another time that I wandered through these streets. It looked different, or
Yeah, and
when we
that's
ran.
what we rolled for, and you
Yeah,
do not remember. But it would make all the sense in the world for you to have maybe
been here
been at some
before.
point here, but you don't recall.
What if I left my mark? Peaceful. Too peaceful.
Well, there are the heartless that you were made aware of.
They weren't doing anything
No, they were going about their business as being
egregious.
an undead parasite on society,
That was
as
at night as
they are
well,
wont
wasn't
to
it?
do.
That wasn't nighttime. Yeah, I'll go. I'll peruse the books.
Hmm.
Um, I'll just. I suppose I'll keep a cautious eye, see if I was being followed or observed. If like I'm drawing attention.
Hmm.
I expect my brother will be, as he refuses to, you know, go in anywhere that isn't Gandalf. Gandalf of the many masks.
Right. So you spend your time wondering about the libraries
Yeah.
of the city.
Seeing if anything ever might nature shows up. Unlikely,
Mm-hmm.
but possible.
Well, let's make a roll.
What
You
kind
can
of
make
roll is
again a fate roll to
8, 10?
see
Oh.
what fate has in store for you.
Nah,
It's not much better. I've
nah.
gotta tell you.
I'm just walking like whatever route I take through the town. I'm just missing this massive, important historical thing that
Yeah.
would really be useful to know.
Yeah, there's just people in the background as you walk away. Just
Mm.
wheelbarrows of Eremite relics. They're just taking them this way and that. Yeah.
Did Khufu see any spirits in the graveyard?
Oh yes, yes. But that's no news to him.
Yeah, just hangers on.
Yeah. There's usually some spirits
Is
in larger areas.
is there a scribe relic in this area, like in this city?
It's very hard to track them if you don't know about
Their
them.
existence. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. That's fair.
I think given there's some spirits about, I'll probably like converse with a few of the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in like commanding them via my awesome necromantic powers or anything, but just to like have a chat with them to like fill in my knowledge of like the area, and again mainly to sort of find out who they were, you know, with the whole sort of like chronicling of deeds, etc. But just to generally get like a bit of background information. No real. I'm not really after any sort of mad advantage or anything like that.
So essentially, what you're doing is you're talking to the locals. It's
Yeah,
just that
basically.
these locals are dead.
Yeah, and if there's anywhere there's like, I'm not sure really how to phrase this. If there's anything that like they need or that can be done to make them more comfortable, that it's within my power to do, I will happily do so.
I think there's probably like you can talk to a number of ghosts around Heraklion. I think in the cemetery probably there's a ghost of like a very tired, sort of calloused from hard work, sort of grandpa figure, who like eventually as you like get to talking with him, like he gets around to asking you to maybe fix up his daughter's grave a little bit, like maybe brush off the leaves a little bit and scrape some of the moss off the stone.
I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably try and use my knowledge of crafts and mortuary art. So I will tidy it up and I'll do the leaves off and whatever. But if there's like, I presume I'd be able to like buy like generic like hardware supplies.
Yeah, no problem at
area.
all. No.
So like if there's any like cracks or like minor imperfections on the grave, that I think with my knowledge of crafts I could sort of buy stuff and repair it to make it as near to new as possible. I will do that as well as sort of like cleaning off the leaves and I don't know, maybe if there's evidence there were flowers there or some sort of like votive offerings that have like, let's say, probably because if it's abandoned effectively, they're probably not in such a good state. I'll clear them off and like I'll buy like I'll acquire a replacement, so like put fresh flowers and like say fix up the grave as well as cleaning it.
So I think you can, no problem. You get the stuff, you sort of fix, like fill in like a crack on the stone there, and you clean out the plant matter and the old trappings, and you come back with a bunch of flowers that you figured, okay, I will bring these there because maybe you saw similar flowers on other graves, so you think, oh, that's probably a thing, and you come back with them, and the grandfather ghost is profoundly, appreciative of that, but he asks you to maybe go and get like different kinds of flowers because he always brought these kinds of flowers for his daughter. And
that's fine. What I'll do is I'll take the the bunch of flowers that I've got, and I'll put them on like a nearby grave that has similar flowers.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and get the ones he asked for,
Yeah.
and I'll bring those back.
So as you bring them back and you put them on the ground there, the grandpa sort of like in Twilight, of course, because he's not in the real world. Or this side of the Twilight.
While I'm doing that, I'll get him to tell me a bit about his granddaughter as well. You know, so I've got a bit of background.
So he's talking about how they saved both him and his wife, and there's like multiple family members that saved a lot of money to send this daughter to school to get an education, because they're all from inland, just regular salt of the earth folk, and they wanted to have a great future for this daughter, and they sent her to school. She got a nice career, and eventually, unfortunately, there was an accident and she passed before her time, and he never got to say goodbye, and he passed away as well afterwards. But he tells you the stories about how her going to university and graduating and getting a what they think of as like, oh, we're appreciating this sort of highly trained profession that we managed to get for this prized and loved family member. And he tells these stories, and he's sort of sitting next to the stones there, and sort of puts a hand on it as he's talking about these stories. After you brought the flowers back, his ephemeral existence is fading, like he's disintegrating as he's talking about these stories, and eventually his voice just stops because
does it look like he's passing to the west?
Yeah, he is not in the Twilight anymore. He is
so just as he's disappearing, I'm going to thank him for the time, and I hope that what I've done is given him some peace, and I hope that when he travels to the west, he will once again be able to see his daughter and to go in peace.
Yep. You don't know if he hears you, but he seems to have had some, this has affected him in such a way that he's going to be able to go forward now. And Sabek, you have been in these libraries and you've sort of poked around, and there's not a lot. I guess you're kind of used to going around and just trusting fate to provide you what you should have at the time. So there's probably a sort of a certain degree of like carefree thing of like, oh, well, I will go to the library, and if I need to get something from there, I will end up with it as it appears. There's a time when you just on a whim, really, just decide to get one of these books on this, like, we're getting rid of these books. Like, you can take one of these books if you want, like, for free, like, because we're gonna, we're not using them anymore. They're gonna be destroyed. So if you want,
destroy
you can take
book.
Yeah, just like the what? But
how much is it going to cost to buy this island?
Like, we need to stop this.
I cannot let them do that.
Yeah. So you on a whim, you decide to take one, and what it ends up being is let's say it's going to be from 1980s, a astronomy book in Greek, because we're in Greece, but
that makes sense.
It's an old astronomy book that you end up with.
I'll crack it open, have a flick through.
Yeah. Do you speak Greek? Yeah. You can tell that it's astronomy from some of the pictures on the cover, that kind of thing, and also from because you look in and there's there's constellations and whatnot.
Anything that catches my eye?
And not at the moment, no. But it does, as a random selection of we're going to destroy these. It does feel like this is maybe something, really, even if you don't exactly have it to hand, like what it is exactly here. But you have enough familiarity with this kind of thing happening to you that it's probably significant. Stars are a big deal for
The
Iramites.
80s, this wouldn't have been a Sothic turn, right? This would have been
No,
something
no.
else.
But at the same time, they probably wouldn't be destroying anything from a Sothic turn just because, like, we're getting rid of some books. Because that would
No,
be.
I meant the actual constellations in the book. Like, they wouldn't just. It's not got the Sothic
No,
turn.
those would be like contemporary to the 80s. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, we do know that we were active in at least 1985.
You were, I think, weren't you?
We both were.
Oh, was this the Casmo, the initial Casmo?
This was the very first session. Was 1985.
Where we destroyed the MCAT in the warehouse.
Yep.
Huh. Nostalgic. What other books are they trying to destroy? I mean, let go off.
There's just a selection. Mostly it. I don't know if you have the context for it, but for us players, it just looks like they're getting rid of like the older stuff, like things that
clearing
are
out for newer
outdated.
things.
Like we have new editions of this stuff. Like we don't need the old ones anymore.
That's where they're wrong.
Yeah, I'm like that's entirely your paradigm. It's like,
Nope.
no, you don't understand.
Interesting. I need to study this. Unfortunately, I don't understand a word of Greek.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah,
Maybe I used to, but I can't.
but not
recall.
one that you haven't surmounted before. Like you
Yeah.
have the capacity for languages, so you could work on it.
Wait a second. What's my thing? My thingy.
Word of the amanuensis, or
Yeah, I have stuff.
does it allow you to read stuff?
It allows me to make sense of stuff. Yeah, I think. You invoking the language behind languages, the mummy commands a written text in any of the lesser debased languages used by mortals to translate itself. Oh, I love the shade. Whether the words are written in ink, caves, or recorded electronically, physically, yeah. Formatting translation, yeah. The only problem with this, let's just have a look. It doesn't say it's subtle.
Yeah. So in a city environment, it might be more than just translating the book.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the library might go up in flames if we roll really bad.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a shame. Maybe I'll go.
Yeah, that's the thing with cosmic power, right? Like you could make this thing do what you want, but it might destroy a part of the city while you're doing it.
I mean, I don't have to be anywhere. Okay, I might go into the countryside for a little bit, just find somewhere secluded and attempt to use this ability. Finally, yeah.
Okay, so you go out from Heraklion. Xenon can drive you into the fields, and in the shade of Cretan apricot trees, you have this 80s astronomy book, and you invoke the word of the amanuensis.
I do, yeah.
You're free to spend the pillars.
Spend some ren.
The lesser debased language compared to Iramite.
I almost completely forgot I had this ability.
Yep.
Almost. But
it is compelled to translate itself into a form understandable by you.
There's a thing where it shifts around
Yeah, yeah. It literally like the language changes in the book, and you can read it. It is in fact a sort of primer on astronomy. It's not like super deep theory or anything, but it's like basic astronomy knowledge that would have been taught maybe in like a higher education institution. And yeah, so basically you can learn about astronomy if you want, and
I will,
you
in the nice
peruse.
sunshine,
Yeah, so
read a
you
bit.
peruse, and
Who can speak to the dead? I shall speak to the stars.
yeah, that's the thing. And you browse the book, taking in quickly. Of course, you don't have the time for a deep study, but there's a page that has been, unfortunately, when someone was closing the book, the page was like turned in on itself, so it's been sort of pressed in on a. I don't actually know how to describe it in English. Well, what's happened to the page is this. So you have the page, and when closing the book, the page has unfortunately gone like this. And
yeah, it's very unsatisfactory when you notice it. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, so you're like, oh, like that.
Have
That
to buy
just
a
feels
brand new
bad.
book now.
Yeah. So you unfold the thing and you smooth it out, and you notice that you're looking at Orion, the Hunter constellation.
Right.
Which, again, your instinct is pretty good with these kinds of things.
Just like we've had references to the Hunter several.
Yeah, there's been references to the Hunter before, and this kind of thing doesn't happen to you on accident. You know that there's patterns in the world.
Oh yeah, there's like a secret code to the universe if you can figure it out.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like the whole page is a sort of star map of the Orion and associated stars.
Yeah. Okay. I would contact Kofu, but I have no idea where he is, and he probably doesn't know how to use a phone.
He does. He specifically asked the cult to tell him.
I specifically acquired a mobile phone and training on how to use it from the cult some time ago.
Oh, I don't know if I did. I don't think I've ever used a phone in this game. Oh dear.
Well, it's not like you can't just go back and be like, Kufu's in that direction.
I'll go find him if I can.
Yeah, and to be fair, you've travelled out into the middle of nowhere and done all this stuff, so like me going to a graveyard and talking to someone probably hasn't taken anywhere near as long as that. So you'll probably find me back at the hotel.
Yeah, we can reconvene at night in the hotel.
Brother, I think we should leave.
Well, that is the plan once we have spent tonight here in this hotel.
No, I think we should leave now.
Do you mind if I ask why?
I keep seeing references to various forms of hunter, of being hunted, deities, cultural references, Greek myths. I think you even noticed a few of them yourself.
You're referring to the Temple of Artemis, presumably.
Yes. I don't know. There's no arisen here. Now,
perhaps your reference is simply referred to the lion's jaw. That is a weapon designed for hunting. It is its reason for being.
Does it belong to a hunter, brother?
I'm not sure if I would classify myself as a hunter.
I mean, that's a bit of a stretch, but...
Then no, it does not belong to a hunter.
The previous owner could have been a hunter. What I'm saying is there are no arisen here. There could be a reason for that. That there is something that prevents them from staying here. This place belongs to something, and it knows we're here. We should leave
Then,
before it comes
since
for
we
us.
since we do not require sleep in the way that mortals do, I
Mm.
suggest we remain awake and alert throughout the night, and then at first light, we leave aboard a plane.
That is strategically the best route. Daylight is, in most stories, a ally of
Indeed,
things.
and attempting to book a flight in the middle of the night at such short notice will not only be difficult, if we are being observed, it will raise attention, and it will
You don't
surely
have to go
alert.
back to.
It
You
will
don't need to go
alert
to
those
Rio.
who are potentially following us that we
I
are
think we should
aware of
leave
it.
this place. This is like the domain of something, I feel, and the longer we remain here, the closer it gets to reaching out and taking that thing back. I do not know what this thing is, and we are far from our place of power. So
Then where is it you wish to go?
we don't have to go to Rio directly. We could go to somewhere in Europe for the night, for a day, and then return to Rio. I just think this place, fate is telling me something. Like the stars, Khufu, are warning me. They are directing my attention, and I should not ignore it.
In which case, I suggest you.
I mean, when I was in Sada, I saw, you know, I painted an inspirational painting, just one day, and it just happened to be, signs of burning and death. I just thought I was in a bit of a dark mood, you know. Sometimes you gotta take the messages you can and get out of there.
Then I suggest you, if that is what you think, I suggest you contact the airport and first of all find if it is possible to book a flight at this short notice.
I will do so. Hopefully, my charm lies will assist me in this endeavor. Oh yeah, we've got cancellation. There's 2 flights available to, you know, somewhere nice like Rome or Carthage.
Right. So the plan is try and book it.
Just go somewhere. Get out of Crete. Just
Mhm.
if his instincts are correct, something exists here, and the only thing he's ever seen near that axe, apart from Khufu, was something very dangerous. He doesn't want to phase it down when he's not at full Sec M10 ready to throw down, a moon.
Yeah, I'll hit you with a planet.
I'm pragmatic in that regard, and there's no point in us. And I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, we're in a different city. Everything's fine.
Right.
Just got to leave the hotel, and there's no everything's dark. There's no sky. There's no
So
stars.
I think what Sobek's trying to say is that he's going to trust to fate to help him book like a sort of last minute flight, and presumably trust to fate for the destination as well.
Yeah.
I think so. Sobek, give me a third fate die, which is
Come on.
entirely made up by me, by the way. That's not part of the game,
Okay.
but now it is. Getting closer, but 8 is the thing we want. So,
it's inching towards it.
yeah, but no, it's at least better than the ones and the 2s. So, yeah, I guess no. What you do get is a flight back to France. So
Yeah.
there's, lo and behold, as you're in the terminal, just waffling around trying to talk to some of these travel agents that are just wishing you would stop because they're doing the graveyard shift and they don't need your bullshit. Lo and behold,
is what I've got in spades.
there's a cancellation that just happens to be there when you talk to the right airline.
Oh,
I think I'll be unable to suppress a smirk when they say graveyard shift.
Behind your mask.
Like, yes, I have worked a couple of those in my time. So you board a plane and you head back to France.
I think the plan's probably going to be then spend the day in France and then at a slightly more leisurely pace now, like Sobek's not worried about this evil hunter's coming
I
after
go to
us.
another library,
We
get
can,
another fortune. It's not over.
yeah. It's at
It's
a slightly more
the
leisurely
axe.
pace, charter a flight back to Rio.
Right. Okay. So I think being conscious of the time here, unless we decide that we're going to go on super long, I think we can call it when we get back to Rio and pick up there next time.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
All right. So we head back to Brazil, and okay, this takes a couple of days, the whole trip, once again, to get back. And when you do land, you're getting once the plane comes down enough that the mobile phone networks pick up your phones again, you get blown up. the just ringtone is just and your cult is letting you know that there's some shit kicking off, and these messages have been sent like an hour and a half ago, before you touch the ground. So an hour and a half has
Just in
passed since
time.
whatever is going on has started going on. Your cult is saying that there's they're not sure if this is related at all to what's going on in the favela raise or not, but this is not a favela. It's the if we're looking on the map here, the area of Rio called the Botafogo. There's a favela close by, which is the Rio Marta favela, where we sort of woke up when your cult had retreated there.
The first time when things were. We were like, who dare disturb us in Rio?
So there's a favela nearby, but Botafogo itself is not a favela at all. It is a fairly well-to-do neighborhood. So your cult is letting you know that Botafogo has gone extremely chaotic. They don't exactly know what's going on right there, and they don't have anyone to send there right now, and they don't want to send anyone anyway. But for your information, your recently appointed head prophet of your guild, formerly your chauffeur, has been in a trance, gibbering insanities in whatever bolt hole they have him in. But they send over a couple of sound bites for you to listen to. So you dig out those shitty airline earbuds that they give you, and you sort of put the plug in on your cheap mobile phone, and you play these files, and it's sure enough, it's Mr. D'Souza just garbling nonsense. But then there's some words that you recognize in the sort of glossolalia, talking in tongues that he does. And he's talking about some sort of bleeding from below, and the jackals that come to feast.
Okay, that's different.
And there's like horror walking in the streets. And most of all, you recognize the fact that he says the house of the presence of Bektamun has fallen.
Bektamun's gone dark? What?
So that's what you get, but the rest is just nonsense, really, and random Portuguese words in the mix.
Bektamun. Which one's Bektamun? Is
Khufu will know this.
Is that one of the Orishas?
No. Bektamun is one of the first prophets of the Submena, the first prophet of, the East that you met in Japan.
Oh, the one that absolutely smacked him.
Yeah, she's the one that
Yep.
tried to stave my head in.
Yep.
That also taught me in the ancient days.
Yeah, in Rome, in fact, taught you the one of your utterances, but
Yeah.
she taught you in Rome and then smacked you around in Japan.
I think it might be time to play a call on the House of Beckerman.
And as you hear D'Souza talk about this, both of you actually remember, because Khufu you will have told Sobek in a past life, both of you remember that, yes, now that you mentioned this, Bektamun has visited Rio previously, and she had a sort of modest tomb, a tomb away from tomb in Rio. And it just happened to be in the area that is modernly called Botafogo.
Which has just been attacked. But they're not there, right? She's not there.
Yeah, she's not in Rio. You know this.
Wow. I think we know where we're going next session.
Not that I'm putting down, markers of the map or anything, but
I think we're Botafogo bound.
Let's go meet.
But that's what happens while you're goddamn taxiing forever in the in the airport, just driving around on the airplane, just being blown up by your call. Just like something's going on. We don't have the resources, please, holy ones. What?
Yeah, I think obviously when we get back, first priority is like hook up with the cult, get the sort of like lowdown in person. And then possibly like next session head to like Botafogo if we think it's necessary.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
But yeah, currently your understanding is sort of like favelas are a really bad time. Like it's kind of no-go areas currently, as far as your cult says. Like, please don't go, because they will jump your ass in the favelas. But of course, you're free to do whatever you want. You're fucking death sorceress from Miram, like. Right, so that's what happens to you, and we cut off as you're in the plane, just looking at the phones, looking at each other, just like, great. And we I think we caught on the seatbelt light switching off and the PA system coming on, and there's like, this is the captain. Welcome to Rio de Janeiro. The weather outside is, and then we
Nice.
cut the credits.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yep. Right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, I'm happy
Right.
to chat for a bit, but I'll end the stream now. So again, thank you very much for running that.
Yep.
Very much enjoyed it.
Thank you.